Hey everybody, it's Dave Dyer, and welcome to episode 3, season 1 of my new podcast, Tight 10. It's a podcast where I have a very interesting guest on. We go through 10 questions, very quick, in and out, kind of like me at a party. Let's go. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So my guest today is Ashley Trieu. Now, if you don't know who Ashley Trieu is, you should look on the web and find out who she is, because she is the founder and designer of a fashion clothing company called On Atelier, and that is AN-ATELIER.com. And you could also find Ashley on all the socials at On Atelier Design or at Truetopia, correct?
Correct.
Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Well, good. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm looking forward to this. My whole focus on this podcast is going to be to find people who've done something a little different, a little interesting,
Okay.
and really kind of knocked it out of the park with what they're doing. Okay?
Like that.
All right. So it's 10 questions. Feel free to expand on the questions.
Okay.
Some of them are going to be silly. Some of them will be a little more in depth, but here we go. This is the number one. This is my first question for everybody, because for me, this gives a good insight into who somebody is. Here's question number 1. Triscuits or wheat thins? Go.
Triscuits.
Triscuits?
Yes, Triscuits.
All right. My
The
wife's a
texture is better.
Yeah.
It feels more filling to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's thin, I don't eat. Like, I don't even like thin crust pizza. So,
Okay.
I'm not like Triscuits, without a doubt, Triscuits.
Okay. My wife is a Triscuits person. I'm personally a wheat thins person. I've always felt that Triscuits are kind of like eating a basket.
I
Um,
like eating baskets.
Yep.
I like that texture. So,
I like the little bit of sugary shadow taste of a wheat thin.
okay.
So. All right. So I was reading up and doing some research on your career and your background, and you
Mhm.
said one of your interest in fashion really kind of started a long time ago when you started to buy some vintage clothing and
Yes.
maybe make some modifications to it, and then thought to yourself, hey, this is something I can do.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me one of the first pieces that you did that to, and what you did, and is it something you still own? Do you still own that piece of clothing?
I don't own those pieces of clothing. I did so many of them that honestly, it's really hard to remember. And I think I tend to remember my own designs from scratch much more than pieces that I modified. And that was like, you know, 10, 11, 12 years ago that I was doing that.
Hmm.
But a lot of times I would take, mostly pieces from the 70s, and I would do things like change the hemline. A lot of times they were really long, and maybe that was great, but I would look at different pieces and know, I just know that the girl who wants that wants it at a certain length or whatever.
Sure.
So sometimes I would change the buttons out. Sometimes I would change the length of the dress. I would change it to like a short sleeve. Nothing too crazy actually with the modifications. Because I also wanted to keep it somewhat intact to what it was, to
Yeah.
keep the vibe of the era. So
Yeah.
when it comes to that, I don't think that I have anything that really stands out of a modification piece too much, because I wasn't modifying it too far from what it was.
So from the beginning, was your intention to make this stuff and modify and sell it? So a lot of that stuff you sold off, or no
Not at
intention to really
all.
keep it for,
So
okay.
when I started doing this, it was really popular to sell vintage clothing online, and there were a lot of blogs doing that. And so I would look at these blogs and get inspired from that, and that's what I was doing. So I was just selling straight up vintage and flipping vintage, and never really thought about doing handmade or designing myself. But I would go to the thrift stores, and sometimes I would find rolls of beautiful vintage fabric.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, let me just experiment. So I would look at my vintage pieces and look at the construction, because the construction back then I think was a lot more detailed than it is now,
Yeah.
generally speaking. And so it would inspire me to just make my own things. And I kind of don't put bounds on my creativity. If I feel an impulse to try making something from scratch or whatever, I will just do that. So it kind of just happened on a gut instinct and kept escalating into what it is now.
Yep. And one of the things I've always appreciated about what you do, and look, I'm not the biggest, most knowledgeable person about the fashion industry, but
Mhm.
I would always notice that you would find maybe some fabric or something you had lying around. You would
Mhm.
make a garment, whatever you got, and
Mhm.
then you would model it yourself and say, hey, I've got enough fabric to make 3 of these or whatever.
Yes.
You know, who wants these and what sizes and so on and so forth. I
Yep.
thought that was a great way to kind of not only show that, hey, I'm designing it, this is how I want you to wear it, and this is what it is.
Well, this is the interesting thing about it, is that when I had more money coming in, then I'm like, oh, I want to get models to make it look official, because I'm not like a fashion model. And I think there is a difference in that. I think because the clothes that I wear, or the clothes that I design, are very much the clothes that I wear and have my essence and my style in it.
Hmm.
I think there's something to it being authentic when I wear it. where I think when I hire a model, it's not always their vibe or their
Yeah.
style. And I think the customers instinctively pick up on that. It's not like a
Yeah.
conscious thing that they do because it tends, my pictures and pictures of my actual customers tend to do better.
Yeah.
And so I loved the photos of the models and I would book them and do their makeup and shoot photos and do like spend all this time doing that. And sometimes it wouldn't quite translate to the customer the same way.
Yeah. And it's money you don't have to spend, for
It's
gosh
very
sakes.
interesting.
Right?
Yes.
True. All right. Back to silly. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, you're flipping channels. You come across three movies, and I'm only saying this because I like romantic comedies. You come across When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and Notting Hill. All three of those are on
Whoa.
at the same time. Which one do you watch?
Notting Hill.
Notting Hill. That's a good one.
Yes.
Hugh
It's
Grant.
close between Notting Hill and Sleepless in Seattle, but Notting Hill to me is just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a classic to me.
I always pick When Harry Met Sally just because I'm a Billy Crystal fan, being a comedian, and some of the lines in that movie are just fantastic.
I'm not sure if I've seen that one, or it's been
Oh,
a long time.
wonderful.
I don't even remember. So that's good. I have to
Yep.
refresh on that one.
When Harry Met Sally. It's Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. It's great.
Okay.
Really
I
nice.
actually don't think I've seen that one, so I'll have to
Yep.
watch
You
it.
should check it out. All right. So you're obviously very proud of your Vietnamese heritage. You do all kinds of stuff online in regards to the dress, the culture, the music, food, all sorts of things like that. Of all of those things that you always talk about online, which one of those things kind of gives you the most peace that you really like to delve into in regards to the Vietnamese culture?
The most peace. The most peace is probably the music because it's just so fun and it's something that's easy to share. It's easy for people to connect with without necessarily having to know the culture or know the language because
Hmm.
music is just like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what I enjoy most is posting aspects of our experience that I don't think get a lot of mainstream exposure. It doesn't necessarily give me peace though, because those can be more controversial type
Right.
posts. But there are certain elements of our experience, especially being Asian American or Vietnamese American, that I think is important to talk about. And it makes people feel seen when I do, and it makes people feel validated in their experiences. And it also unifies people because a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't realize that you also have this dynamic or whatever. So I guess it brings me peace in that way and that it humanizes us and
Yeah.
that it brings people together. So those are kind of the two aspects that I think I enjoy
Well,
most.
I also like the fact that you incorporate your parents into it a lot. You know,
Yes.
you talk about your dad and your mom and just, the struggle they had coming over and the things that they
Yes.
had to go through. And
Yep.
that's a huge thing that, a lot of people don't think about.
Hmm.
And it's nice that you're going to bring that to light and let everybody know.
Yes. That's my
So,
favorite part is that.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You have a beautiful voice. You post videos all the time of you singing. If someone came to you and said, this is always the big question for comedians too. If someone came to you and said, you have the opportunity to be humongously successful in either fashion or music, but only one of them, which one do you pick?
Music.
Music?
I feel like I shouldn't say that because I'm predominantly in fashion, but that's my honest answer.
I totally get it. Every comedian, ask your brother. By the way, Ashley's brother is Alan Trieu, a very good friend of mine, another comedian. You ask any comedian. We spend all this time writing stupid jokes, and if someone said, hey, do you want to be a rock star? Yep, let's go.
Really?
Let's
So
go.
is that
Oh,
your
yeah.
answer as well?
Oh, yeah.
Dave, you're a great singer. We haven't had a duet in a while,
No, we haven't.
but we rock the house every time we do.
We did. Yeah, we have. Yep. So, but I totally get it. And I think there's just something about that. And, it kind of goes back to what you said about the Vietnamese culture. Music has such a connection with people.
Yes.
The jokes, the shelf life of a joke is very quick. I tell you a joke and it's funny and you're going to laugh. And the next time I tell you, you're not going to laugh as hard. I've heard it already. But you can hear the same songs over and over again. There's,
True.
they put you in a certain place. And so I think there's something about that and being out front and the way it engages people that, yeah, every comedian go, sure, I'd rather be a rock star.
That's hilarious. I could see that now that I think about it.
Yes. Now, question number 6. Tell me the biggest celebrity, well-known person who has worn one of your designs and where they've worn it.
So this one is hard to confirm because I think Pink wore one of my dresses, but I didn't have it confirmed because a lot of times
Okay.
people will buy stuff, but not necessarily let on who they are to, especially if they're buying and it's their own personal information that they're putting in there.
Okay.
That happened, but I did a little research and I'm like, I think this is Pink that bought the dress, but I have no idea where she
Yeah.
wore it to.
Oh, you don't know if it was a stage thing or maybe to an event or something?
No, but then a couple years ago, I had Guru Jas, which is the lead singer of White Sun Music, and she
Okay.
wore my dress to the Latin Grammys and the American Grammys, where she won Grammys at each. And
Okay.
so that was another one
I
there.
think I remember seeing a post. You put a post out about that. Didn't you show some pictures
Yes.
of her? Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. Very nice. All right, we're back to silly. You have to go on a 3-hour road trip with either Madonna, Stevie Nicks, or Sheryl Crow. Give me your order from least favorite to favorite and why.
Okay, number one, I'm between Stevie Nicks and Sheryl Crow
Okay, for your least favorite.
for my most favorite.
For your most favorite, okay.
Madonna's
With
my
it.
least.
Madonna's.
I never clicked with Madonna. I don't know what it is. Not a Madonna person.
And don't you, I know the music was huge and everything, but don't you just feel like she would just yell at you the whole time?
I don't know what I would feel. I think she would just, I think the vibes would just be off in the car.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so she's
Um,
the obvious three,
she's the obvious
one
three.
and two.
Sorry, Madonna. I feel like Sheryl Crow and I would have a really great connection and have a great time, but then I'm really interested in just talking Stevie Nicks' ear off and just hearing her stories.
Yes.
Um, I think as an artist, I prefer Stevie Nicks, but for some reason Sheryl Crow seems really cool and like we would have a friendly rapport.
Would be super
So
easy to get along with.
I guess if I'm going on a road trip, I would choose Sheryl Crow because I would want it to be fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
It's the same order I would have. Sheryl Crow would be easy piece of cake. She'd be
Mm-hmm.
easy to get along with.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear the stories Stevie Nicks has
Stevie
to
Nicks.
tell.
Yes.
I still think Rumors is one of the greatest albums of all time from
Yes.
beginning to end. Just phenomenal. From the second you put it on till it ends, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Madonna would just be telling you to shut up. So that wouldn't be no fun. All right. Tell me what lessons you have learned from your career, from being a self-started business person, just all the lessons that you've learned that you are able to not only apply to your own life, but maybe pass along some advice to your niece and nephew, Alan's kids, or if you have kids of your own in the future. What kind of things have you learned to be able to say, hey, just be aware of this as you move forward?
It's interesting because I think in my business, I learned a lot of lessons of self-worth when it comes to your pricing, when it comes to how much you sacrifice of yourself, how much time you put in, and also boundaries with your customers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say know your value, which that takes time, and it takes time to also build your skill and your accolades to sometimes feel that way. But I would say that's a big thing is to don't sacrifice on your value.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can start from the beginning with that, then that's great too, instead of kind of like,
Yeah.
changing up in that type of thing. But for me, it needed to start somewhere because I wasn't trained in this because this was something I was just doing instinctively. It had to start at a certain point and
Yeah.
grow from there. But I think that I had pushed past a certain plateau and then never really raised everything else to go around that. And I would say with that too, I come from a background where we're really innovative and we'll make things work, which is great. But I think that I cut corners in some ways that I should have taken it more seriously. Like
Okay.
make sure that everything is on point, everything is done well. It's
Yeah.
better to do things well than to do a lot of things.
Yeah. Save
Yeah.
yourself a lot of headaches later on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I love that perspective because you're right. I mean, and not only from what you do, but anybody in the entertainment world, you get asked to do a certain kind of job, and I mean, a natural thing is to think, well, what should I be charging for this? What do I provide these people? What's my value add? And it's tough to figure out who you are and how you assign a number to that.
Yes. And sometimes it's also you just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yes,
it
yeah,
doesn't matter if you're starting out, if it's a low quality, you don't want that to come back to you someday and it wasn't, a production that was done well and it's not putting your best foot forward. Of course, you can't always control for that, but I think it's good to also think in the future. So maybe your value isn't just where you are at this point in time, but where you know you're going to be
yeah,
and to operate from that space and
yeah,
take it into consideration. And I also would say that rest is productive
yeah,
because I burnt myself out, just go, go, go all the time. And I thought I always had to be in motion, always do something productive and build into the business. But sometimes when you're nose to the ground with it all the time, you need to take a break to see it from a different vantage point, and you can take leaps in taking those breaks to really look and assess. There's a lot of gems in there that you will miss if you just continue working and you don't take time to actually reflect on what you're doing and what
Yeah.
you.
Yep. And speaking of saying no, just yesterday I got offered a private show at a nursing home in Ohio. I said no.
No,
And I
yeah.
think that's something I'm going to do.
No, I don't think so.
It's
I
not my
think you're, yeah, right.
All right. I always see on your social media you're modeling stuff. You've got your hair done in all sorts of different ways. I need to know, of all the different ways you style your hair, which is your favorite way to wear it?
I love big hair. So like today, how it
Yeah.
is, or curly hair, I like doing that the most. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just think I kind of have a big personality and it kind of just goes with it for
Yeah.
me. And it's weird because I saw an article where an Asian woman was talking about this. She said she had an aversion to having like straight hair because it matches a certain stereotype and people would kind of like assume more of like a submission or a traditional type of personality from her. And she was like,
Hmm.
so I always cut my hair. I always had a buzz cut or did something like that. And so I feel like that's kind of the same reason maybe that I like big hair. And then I also am just like a 80s, 90s type of
Yeah.
person. And
Yeah.
that's all big textured hair.
Big,
So that's,
giant
yes.
hairspray, everything going
We're
all over the
opposites
place.
right nowadays.
Yes. Well, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. And by the way, I know you've always said, "Oh, I love the mustache." Here's the problem:
I
my
love
body has
that
taken a
person.
turn to where even the facial hair is so gray now. If I grow this out, I look 93. So I'm like, I can't do
I
this
doubt
anymore.
that.
So anyway, but that's it, Ashley. That's our 10 questions. That's our tight
That's
10.
too easy.
It was easy. Now, again, I just want to remind everybody, if you're looking for Ashley and her creations online, it's anatelier.com. That's ANATELIER.com. You can find her on all the socials at Anatelier Design or Truetopia.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Anything I'm missing?
Not at all. You covered everything. I'm very impressed.
Great. Thanks very much. Thank you so much for doing this. Wonderful
Of
talking
course.
to
Thank
you.
you for having me. Yes.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.